What if the scariest animal that ever lived is still down there? Humans have explored less than 5% of the ocean. Everything under that is a guess. These are the 12 most terrifying predators in Earth's history, counting down to number 1. A snake heavier than a car, a bug longer than your couch, a whale that hunted other whales. Every one of them was real, and T-Rex, the animal you're expecting at the top, only makes number 2. Number 12, Titanoboa. Picture the biggest anaconda alive today, a snake that already swallows deer whole. Now double it. Titanoboa stretched over 40 feet, longer than a school bus, but length was never the scary part. This snake weighed more than a car. Its body was as thick around as an oil drum, so if it slid past you, it would reach your waist. It carried no venom. It didn't need any. Titanoboa killed by squeezing, coil after coil, tightening until nothing inside its prey worked anymore. Picture a flooded swamp 58 million years ago. A crocodile glides through warm brown water, certain it owns this place. Beside it, the surface barely ripples. Something as wide as a barrel is moving underneath. It waits, completely still. Then the coils close. So fast, the crocodile never turns its head. A big anaconda today weighs about 250 pounds. Titanoboa weighed 10 times that, which makes the strongest snake alive right now a rounding error. But that size came with a bill. A body that huge ran on constant tropical heat because snakes can't warm themselves. When the climate shifted, those overheated swamps faded, so the largest snake in Earth's history faded with them. Number 11, Arthropleura. Picture a millipede, the little armored bug hiding under a garden rock. Now stretch it to 8 feet. Arthropleura was longer than your couch, wider than a car tire, heavier than a full-grown dog. No bug before or since has ever been bigger. Its back carried dozens of overlapping armor plates, like roof shingles made of shell. Here's the strange part. It mostly ate rotting plants. That should make it less frightening. Somehow it doesn't. Imagine hiking through a steaming forest 300 million years ago. Ferns rise taller than houses. The log beside your boot shifts. It is not a log. 8 feet of plated armor lifts out of the leaf litter. Hundreds of legs rippling in waves, sliding right past your feet. It isn't hunting you. You will still never sleep the same. Why could a bug grow like this? The air itself was different. Back then, Earth's atmosphere held far more oxygen than it does today. Bugs have no lungs. They drink air through tiny tubes in their shells. So richer air let their bodies balloon. Today's thinner air can't feed a body that size. That's why nothing like Arthropleura can ever come back. Its world ended when the great rainforests collapsed. The climate dried out, the oxygen dropped, so the biggest bug in history quietly ran out of air. Number 10. Dunkleosteus. Forget the Megalodon for a minute. 360 million years ago, long before sharks ran the oceans, the water's top killer was a fish wearing a suit of bone. Picture a great white, but swap its face for an armored helmet. Scientists still argue over its full length. Older studies said school bus long. Newer ones say shorter but far more heavily built. Yet everyone agrees on the weight class. This was a swimming wrecking ball, heavy as a pickup truck. Now the nightmare part. Dunkleosteus had no teeth, none. Its mouth held 2 jagged plates of raw bone that scraped against each other with every bite, sharpening themselves like scissor blades. Most animals' teeth wear down over a lifetime. This bite got sharper with use. Picture an early shark cruising the dark, ancient sea. Ahead, an armored shape hangs motionless in the water. Then the helmet splits open. In 1/50th of a second, so fast the water itself bends inward. The shark isn't bitten, it's inhaled. A great white bites hard enough to crack bone. Dunkleosteus bit hard enough to shear through solid armor plate. We know, because it ate other Dunkleosteus. Scientists keep finding coughed-up piles of their armor on the ancient sea floor. Its reign ended when the oceans lost their oxygen in a global die-off, which erased the armored fish almost overnight. The sharks it once ate inherited everything. Number 9. Quetzalcoatlus. Picture a giraffe. Now teach it to fly. Quetzalcoatlus stood tall enough to look a giraffe dead in the eye, on wings stretching over 30 feet, the span of a small airplane. Yet its bones were hollow, so this entire towering animal weighed only about as much as a lion. Here's the trick that still amazes scientists. It didn't take off like a bird. It walked on all fours, wings folded like crutches, which packed its arms with monstrous power. When it wanted the sky, it snapped those arms down like a pole vaulter. hurling its whole body into the air in about a second. But the sky was only half the problem. On the ground, it hunted like a stork from a nightmare, a spear-shaped beak longer than you are tall, no teeth, no chewing. Small animals went down whole. That included baby dinosaurs. Picture a young dinosaur crouched in the ferns. A shadow slides across the ground. Footsteps, slow, stilted, closing in. The beak drops like a fishing spear. One swallow, the ferns go still again. The biggest flying bird today, the wandering albatross, spans 11 feet. Quetzalcoatlus tripled that. The sky was not a safe place to be small, but neither was anywhere else. It ruled until the asteroid struck 66 million years ago, which ended every giant flyer on Earth in a single terrible season. Number 8. Deinosuchus. Picture a crocodile. Now make it 35 feet. Deinosuchus stretched as long as a city bus, outweighed an African elephant, yet slid through the water with the same silence as the crocs in your nature documentaries. Its teeth were as thick as railroad spikes, not blades, crushers, built to shatter shell and bone. We're not guessing about its menu either. Dinosaur bones have been dug up carrying its bite marks. This crocodile ate dinosaurs. You've seen the footage of a crocodile exploding out of a river onto a drinking wildebeest. Now replay that scene 80 million years ago. A young duck-billed dinosaur, bigger than a horse, lowers its head to the water. The river gives nothing away. Then the surface detonates. Jaws the length of a man clamp shut, dragging an animal the size of a horse into the deep, exactly the way a croc drags a wildebeest today. A modern saltwater crocodile owns the strongest measured bite of any living animal, around 3,700 pounds of force. Deinosuchus is estimated at several times that, so most scientists believe it bit down harder than T-Rex, but it never met the asteroid. Millions of years earlier, the great inland sea running through North America began to drain, so its coastlines shrank. Its prey scattered, its hunting grounds vanished. Deinosuchus starved out of history quietly. Number 7. Smilodon. You know this one from the Ice Age movies. Everyone calls it a saber-toothed tiger, but that's wrong twice. It wasn't a tiger, so it wasn't built like one either. Tigers are sprinters. Smilodon was a wrestler, shorter, wider, front legs thicker than a strongman's, on a body that outweighed the biggest lions alive today. Then there are the fangs, 7 inches. Kitchen knives growing out of its skull. But here's the twist scientists discovered. Those famous fangs were surprisingly fragile. Sideways pressure could snap them. So Smilodon couldn't bite a thrashing animal wildly, the way a lion does. It had to fight like a grappler instead. Slam the prey down first, pin it flat under crushing forearms, hold everything perfectly still. Only then did the knives come out, driven into the throat with surgical care. Picture an ancient bison grazing in chest-high grass 10,000 years ago. The grass never moves. 600 pounds of muscle is lying flat 10 feet away, watching. One heartbeat of stillness. Then the grass explodes. A lion's longest fangs reach about 3 inches. Smilodon more than doubled that, on a frame heavy enough to flatten a horse. Its ending was quieter than its life. When the Ice Age closed, the giant prey it specialized in died out, while humans spread across its hunting grounds. A knife built for giants has no use in a world of rabbits. Number 6. The terror bird. The asteroid killed the dinosaurs, so mammals took over the world, except in South America. There, for millions of years, the throne passed to the dinosaurs' closest living relatives, birds, not songbirds. Picture an ostrich, but swap its head for an axe. The biggest terror birds stood 10 feet tall, high enough to stare down at a basketball rim, on legs built like pistons. The skull alone stretched more than 2 feet, ending in a massive hooked beak. It didn't peck. It swung that whole skull downward like a pickaxe, with the full weight of its neck behind the blow. But the truly unfair part was the speed. Picture a small, ancient horse bolting across open grassland. It's fast. Horses have always been fast. Behind it, 300 pounds of bird is closing the gap with every stride. The horse swerves. The bird doesn't lose a step. The axe comes down mid-run. A galloping horse holds around 30 miles an hour. Scientists who study terror bird legs believe the big ones could match that pace, maybe beat it. Nothing on those plains could simply run away. Their reign lasted tens of millions of years, but it ended over a land bridge. When North America connected to South America, big cats and wolf relatives poured south. Hunters the birds had never faced. Within a couple million years, the last terror bird was gone. Quick pause. If this list is earning your time, hit subscribe, because the final 5 are the biggest predators this planet has ever produced. Number 5. Spinosaurus. If you watched Jurassic Park 3, you saw this thing snap a T-Rex's neck, a scene fans have argued about for 20 years. Here's what's not up for debate. The real Spinosaurus was longer than the real T-Rex, around 50 feet from nose to tail, longer than a semi-truck's trailer, with a 6-foot sail rising off its back, a wall of bone and skin taller than you. But the sail wasn't the strange part, the bones were. Most giant predator dinosaurs had light, air-filled bones. Spinosaurus grew bones that were dense, solid, heavy, the same trick diving birds like penguins use. So instead of floating, it could sink, hold itself under, hunt below the surface. It's the only giant predator dinosaur we know of that lived in the water. Picture a wide, slow river in ancient Africa. A fish the size of a boat, a giant relative of the sawfish, glides through the murk. Somewhere behind it, a sail cuts the surface, tilts, slips under. 6 feet of crocodile-style jaws close out of the dark. A grizzly bear hunts salmon the length of your arm. Spinosaurus hunted fish the size of the bear. T-Rex ruled the land. This thing ruled the water. It was bigger. Its kingdom was fragile, though. Around 95 million years ago, the great rivers it ruled dried out, so the only swimming giant among the predator dinosaurs vanished along with its water. Number 4. Livyatan. You've heard of Moby Dick, the monster whale from the famous novel. In 2008, scientists in Peru dug up a whale so terrifying, they named it after the book's author, Livyatan melvillei. Fiction got a fossil. It matched a sperm whale in size, around 50 feet long, heavier than a loaded semi-truck. But a sperm whale eats squid. Livyatan was something else entirely, a whale that hunted other whales. Its skull alone stretched nearly 10 feet, as long as a basketball rim is tall. Inside that skull sat the weapon, teeth over a foot long, filling both jaws, top and bottom. Tusks aside, they are the largest biting teeth ever found on any animal. Picture a young whale swimming beside its mother through sunlit water. The sea below them is quiet, too quiet. 50 tons rise off the ocean floor, accelerating, jaws already open. The bite lands mid-body, built not to hold, but to tear. Today, orcas hunt whales, but they need an entire pack working together to bring one down. Livyatan did the same job alone, with a mouth like a bear trap, the size of a car. When the world's oceans cooled, its prey scattered toward cold, distant waters, so the whale killer starved out of existence. One last detail, the one that matters most for this countdown. Livyatan wasn't the only monster in that ocean. Swimming beside it, in the same water at the same time, was number 1. Number 3. Mosasaurus. You remember the Jurassic World lagoon? A great white shark dangles over the water as bait. The crowd leans in. Something the size of a building erupts out of the pool, swallowing the shark like a snack. Honest correction. The movie stretched Mosasaurus to nearly double its real size. But hold on, because the shark part is true. Real mosasaur fossils have been found with sharks in their stomachs. The real animal reached about 50 feet, as long as a semi-trailer, heavier than a city bus. A sea lizard whose closest living relatives are monitor lizards. Picture a Komodo dragon stretched to bus length, given flippers, that never needs land again. Now the feature nobody sees coming. Hidden in the roof of its mouth sat a second set of teeth, curved backward like hooks. Every time prey shifted in its jaws, those hooks caught, dragging it deeper down the throat. A mosasaur's mouth had one exit, but it faced inward. A sea turtle paddles across the bright surface. 30 feet down, the blue turns to black. Out of that black, 50 feet of lizard is already rising. The turtle never sees the water change. An orca runs about 30 feet. Mosasaurus beat that by 20, at more than twice the weight. The asteroid ended its reign 66 million years ago, collapsing the ocean's food chain from the bottom up. At least that's what the fossils tell us. Keep one number in mind as we reach the top of this list. Humans have explored less than 5% of the ocean. Remember that number. Number 2. Tyrannosaurus Rex. You expected this one at number 1. Stay with me. In about a minute, you'll know exactly why it isn't, but you'll also see why it might still be the scariest animal on this list. Start with the frame. 40 feet long, a school bus with legs, hips 12 feet off the ground, on a body that outweighed an African elephant. Its teeth were the size of bananas, but thick like railroad spikes, not thin like blades, because T-Rex didn't slice meat off its prey. It crushed straight through. Fossilized T-Rex droppings have been found packed with splintered bone. It didn't eat around the skeleton. It ate the skeleton. Picture a herd of duck-billed dinosaurs feeding at dusk. The wind shifts. 2 miles downwind, a head the size of a bathtub lifts, nostrils flaring. It already knows exactly where they are. It starts walking. It is not in a hurry. A lion bites with roughly 1,000 pounds of force. T-Rex bit with about 8 times that. The hardest bite of any land animal ever found. Now the twist the movies missed. It was smart. Forward-facing eyes gave it depth vision like a hawk's. Its nose could track a scent for miles. Its brain ranked among the largest of any dinosaur, so some scientists now suspect it hunted in family groups. This wasn't a mindless movie monster. It was paying attention. It died with the crown on, standing on the ground the day the asteroid hit, 66 million years ago. So why number 2? Because T-Rex topped out around 8 tons, while the ocean grew a hunter several times heavier. Number 1. Megalodon. You've seen the Meg. Hollywood took its liberties, but the animal underneath the special effects was real, and the honest numbers don't need any help. Megalodon reached up to 60 feet, longer than a bowling lane, on a body heavier than 8 African elephants combined. Its open jaws spread wide enough to swallow 2 adults side by side. Lining those jaws sat around 250 teeth, each up to 7 inches long, a steak knife the size of your hand, with serrated edges to match. It shed those teeth constantly, so the ocean floor is still littered with them. That's how we know it existed at all. Picture a whale resting near the sunlit surface of a warm, ancient sea. Far below, a shadow detaches from the gloom, angles upward, accelerates. The whale hears nothing. The strike arrives from underneath like a freight train fired straight up. A great white owns the hardest bite of any shark alive, around 4,000 pounds of force. Megalodon bit roughly 10 times harder, quite possibly the hardest bite of any animal that has ever lived. This isn't theory. Fossil whale bones have been pulled from the ground with Megalodon tooth marks punched clean through them. Some of those bones show healing, which means a few whales actually survived the encounter. Imagine surviving that. So what kills a monster like this? Ice. Around 3.5 million years ago, the oceans cooled, so its prey migrated into cold water it couldn't follow, while the warm coastal nurseries where its pups grew up disappeared. The largest shark in history starved at the very top of the food chain. That's the official ending. Now for the footnote. Humans have explored less than 5% of the ocean. Once, science was just as certain about a fish called the coelacanth, declared extinct for 65 million years, filed away next to the dinosaurs. In 1938, a fisherman off South Africa hauled one up onto his deck, alive. Scientists are still finding them today. Is something 60 feet long still hunting down there? Every measurement, every model, every expert says no. But the ocean has never once asked our permission to keep its secrets. 12 monsters, 300 million years. So tell me in the comments, which one caught you off guard? Which one would you least want to meet? Subscribe if you made it to the end, because more lists like this are coming. Until then, maybe stay in the shallow end.